to then populate and go after you, and you see where all that information comes from. And they're paying for it. All this information is automatically pulled into those other 170 databases. So what do? You sign up. You can go to Acxiom and you go to InfoUSA using the same kind of information you just did by creating your local websites on Google and Bing, and you populate that. And over a 6 to 8 week period, every single one of those databases will take your data. So what do we have now? You have literally, at the end of 8 weeks, and I haven't told you how much this cost you, have I? At the end of weeks, we now have 170 new sites pointing to you. How much does it cost to sign up for Bing? 0. How much does it cost to sign up for Google? 0. How much does it cost to sign up for all those other sites on there? 0. So today, this is where you start. Take this approach. Now, here's what's involved in making it happen. We've used this for our clients. I've used it for my own websites. I've got 5 websites. Yes, you should have 5 websites. You'll find out that everybody, if you don't have, it's the world we're in. You have to have websites for everything. What you do is you may want to consider, you could do it yourself. How long would it take you to sign up for Google and Bing? Half a day, maybe less. The hardest part is getting the pictures, getting the info, figuring out what your keywords are and so forth. That's the stuff you have to have done already on your website. So you need to do that. The other one, signing those up, it's very good. You can go to their site. You have to go through a bit of a procedure, but it gets done. It'll take you a few days. If you can afford it, here's what I'd suggest. I use a number of partners around the country that are just in the link business. And they will, for like $750 or $800, take this whole thing for you, sign you up in every single one of these, and then they would track it to make sure it's correct. For example, if you go to the Internet Yellow Pages, I know they're in here. I used to be by the way, I used to work as a CIO for Meritech and also a deputy CIO for Verizon, so Yellow Pages, so I can say this. Yellow Pages aren't real good with, for being accurate. So you have to go in and change that data. So there are about, in addition to those 4 on that list, there's about 7 other major Internet Yellow Page listings you want to be on. So what you want to do and have this person or group take care of you is go through, make sure everything is edited. So at the end of it, I'd like to turn this back over to Richard, is that today, as step number 1, please look at local search as a technique. It costs very little, very little. It's something that will get you hundreds of inbound links and on the first step to getting more business. Thank you. That's quite a title you have there, Richard. I mean, I had no idea you were all those.
Thank you, John. Okay, I won't forget that. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Richard Naisland. I do work at Microsoft in our customer service and support, and I also have the opportunity to lead the Technology Leadership Council. And I want to put a little plug in on that because next month I get the great opportunity to transition that to John. And I say that because John and I have worked in that group for 5 or 6 years, and we've tried to make an impact in providing awareness within the community about technology, technology trends, why you should care about it. And this particular year, one of our agenda items is focused on small business. So when we talk about filling out a survey, we think that's really important so that we can take some of that feedback to see during the course of this year with the Technology Leadership Council, what are the things that we can do as a team, because you have a lot of large corporations, small corporations, school districts, the city, that participate in the TLC that we think can be valuable to come back and figure out what can we provide to the small business community. So I think that's really important. I wanted to put a plug in on that. So today I want to talk about the cloud. And from a technology standpoint, how many of you have heard about cloud? Oh, that's great. Okay. And so today, when you think about technology in the small business and the workplace, typically you're going to have some desktops, you're going to have certain applications running on that, you're going to have an operating system, you may have a small server. Of the small businesses here, how many of you are IT specialists? Okay, so there's 2 or 3, but typically I would assume that as a small business, whoever's the smartest person or kind of likes to geek out in the office tends to be the IT expert and has to provide oversight on the server, has to decide the applications, has to decide what updates do we get, what applications, how do I keep employees from not loading things that I don't want loaded on my computers. And so the approach is with the cloud is really about taking that out to the internet and going into this other location that's not on your premise. And that's one of the things you're going to really start hearing a lot more about. A lot of you have already probably checked into it. Also referred to as software as a service. And so those are 2 things, 2 trends. You're going to see not only Microsoft, but you can look at what Google's doing with Google Apps. You can look at what Oracle's doing. You can see what Intuit does. You can go down, there's not a competitor that we have that is not looking at cloud computing. And so it's something to really think about and recognize it is the future. The impact around cloud, and I think this is probably the one takeaway slide that I would like to have you think about. The first thing is the opportunity to maybe reduce some cost. You pay for what you use. Instead of buying all the software that some users may use, some may not use, or you may not use, it gives you a way of throttling your usage and your payment. Makes it a little more predictable. I think when you think about the infrastructure, knowing what you're going to have hosted out in a different environment. So typically when you think about where is the cloud, it's in a big data center someplace. For Microsoft, we have about 5 worldwide data centers. And the same thing, you go down to any competitor and they're going to have major data centers throughout the country or even the world so that you have that redundancy. Buy it when you need it. So instead of, again, going out and buying a suite of application software, maybe you don't need that for every desktop. It gives you the opportunity to throttle that. The security and reliability, I think this is really a super important area because today when you think about, there's a lot of bad people out there that like to write a lot of bad code. Now, we are in the news a lot because of security patches, but again, you could go down any competitor and they're faced with the same challenge because there's a host of people that want to just see, that would be cool if I could break into their code and cause havoc. And I think as a small business, keeping up with that patching and understanding, should I pay attention to this? Is it important? How do I handle it? Reducing your maintenance and then figuring out, because when it's on a hosted in a data center environment, all that's being done automatically for you. All those patches, all those security risks are reduced from what you have to think about. And it obviously gives you an opportunity really to get online fast. When you think about the internet, you don't have all this time of bringing someone in or the office expert upgrading Windows on, or maybe applications and scanning that across all your environment. So if you need this user to go do something, you get them online and it really increases and simplifies it. And then we talked about you're always on the latest version. So I know a lot of customers get very frustrated with any really manufacturer. It's like, wow, I just got upgraded on 2007 Office, now you're coming out with 2010, why should I even upgrade? And so behind the scenes, those upgrades are happening and the service packs are updating and keeping you up to speed on the latest technology. Again, reducing a lot of the impact and the need that you have as a small business person to worry about those particular upgrades. And then there's certainly a lot on the internet collaboration. And then you have access, no matter where you're at. John talked about the importance of the phone. I mean, mobile will continue to be a significant driver in how people access applications remotely. If you have a sales force, typically they're not in the office. Now, their mobile device serves as that point of contact back to the office, all the customer information, they can do that via the cloud computing. So that's a little bit of the cloud impact, things to think about, the simplifying how you can save money, and then how you can do more with less. And then just from a from a commercial viewpoint, there's a lot of things that we're already doing. And I don't make this as a sales pitch because you could go down to any one of our competitors and in certain parts they're going to be playing and have a very equal and compelling story. But we think we have a great story because again, we have a productivity online suite, the Office web apps. Again, that's pretty significant because many people use Office and they look for this alternative other than having it boxed on a desktop. And you can kind of